Although we're in a historically low inventory market, we're at about 2 months. That is being offset by a historically high interest rate market, higher than it's ever been since I've been in the business. So I recently did a presentation for listing agents with some seller assist strategies to help move a listing. And I wanted to show the flip side of that for buyers and their buyer agents. And I'm going to use a real life case study to do it. In this case, the listing price for the home was $595. There was no seller assist offered, and the remaining balance on the property was about $325. My borrower just so happened to have paying on closing costs. They really didn't want to pay what it was going to be like $60,000 in closing costs at that price point with that offer. They were only putting 5% down, but they wanted to make a strong offer. So this is what I suggested for them, is that they go in higher on their listing price. You see here, at $595 listing price, they went in at $625. This was actually the offer that was accepted. They received seller assistance of $15,000. Of course, their loan amount was higher than it was going to be at the listing price. Interest rate the same, but the principal and interest payment was about $220 higher when you throw in the MI. Again, they were only putting 5% down. But the closing costs were significantly different. 57.4, as I said, it was close to $60,000. Then they only had to come to the table with 41.3. And the seller, they were going to net out $234,000. Instead, they got an extra $247,500. So they made out on it too. And even though it's not the number one priority for a realtor, obviously their commission goes up. So this was the seller assistance scenario. Go in with $30,000 higher than the list price, ask for seller assist. They end up having a higher payment, but again, their pain was closing costs. Well, what about if the borrower has a debt to income pain, meaning they're really up at their limit and they need to have a payment that's going to keep their debt to income, let's call it pre-approvable. And what I would do with them is just a permanent buy down strategy. And what does that look like? Okay, so, and I wanted to do a side-by-side with the closing cost pain. Here's the debt to income pain. Offer 624, $14,000 seller assist. That $14,000 brought the rate down to 6.875, which reduced their monthly principal and interest payment. When I throw in the monthly mortgage insurance, it's a little bit less than it was with the closing cost paying scenario, but they end up paying $90 less a month compared to what the $595 offer with no seller assist was. So that would turn out to be awesome for a borrower. Now, the closing costs are higher, but again, this borrower does not have closing cost pain. Their pain was interest rate payment because their debt to income was going to be too high for them to qualify. So it also throws in, like, it makes affordability more favorable for the buyer. So that's strategy number two. And you see the net to the seller is still about the same as it was in the closing cost scenario. So the seller's making out, and again, the realtor's commission is going to be higher than it would be with the original list price. So that's the permanent buy down strategy. That's more for qualifying and affordability. The third scenario is, what if it is an interest rate and the payment, because we're in the sevens, we call this the 2-1 buy down strategy. Maybe you've been seeing Rocket Mortgage advertising their Inflation Buster program. That's what this is. So what does that look like? So I have a calculator, and you just plug in the numbers. That same purchase price as I was doing with the permanent buy down. The loan amount 592.8. There's the interest rate, loan term, 12 payments in a year, and the monthly payment. So the 2-1 buy down is in year one, you're going to have an interest rate 2% lower. It's a way to ease into the higher interest rate. So that 5.625, the difference in payment is 783.31. Now I didn't throw in the mortgage insurance, but I'm going to show you the difference here in the next slide. But in year 2, the interest rate would be 6.625. And so you take the savings, the annual savings, you add it together, and it's 14,002. And that's about 2.276 in concessions. That's points. So what I did was another side by side, this time with the 2-1 buy down as the fourth column. Very similar to the debt to income paying scenario, but again, that interest rate is 5.625. Now, it's very important to know that the 2-1 buy down strategy, the person has to qualify at that fully amortizing, that's 7.625. So that's not going to be favorable for someone who had a debt to income paying. You use the 2-1 buy down just because they want to have a lower interest rate, and because interest rates, by all accounts, the people who are at a much higher pay grade than I am, are saying that the interest rates, like Fannie Mae, Barry Habib is probably my guru that I've been following for 18 years. They think the rates are going to go down into the mid 4s, 6 months to a year from now, maybe 18 months. So this strategy would work perfect. The 2-1 buy down with a 5.625. And if the interest rates are going to go even lower, you may only be in this loan for a year. And that's my job as a mortgage advisor, is to follow that, reach back out to my clients and say, hey, we might want to think about refinancing you now that the rates, if they get down to 5.625, say, hey, let's look at the rates. They might get lower and we can refinance it. But for the first year, they're saving almost $572 a month in payment. And again, the realtor commissions are about the same no matter what buy down strategy we use here, and the net to the seller is about the same. So everybody is making out in this scenario. The buyer agent obviously is showing their adeptness at structuring a very strong offer to have a happy client. In my case, again, they had a closing cost payment, but this was their dream house, and they really needed some seller assist. They went in with a much higher offer, 30,000 over offer price, and so they were able to get this offer because it did stand out. It wasn't like in some of the other offers that are out there. Lower interest rate, lower payment, and because it was a discount point, it's a write-off. And obviously, I always advise my clients to talk to a accounting professional about that. And then the seller agent also wins because their clients are selling at a higher price point. They're netting out more. This is something that they could use in a listing presentation as a pre-drop strategy. There's a better list to sell percentage when you're moving that property that maybe wasn't going to move. No competition because not a lot of people use these strategies. And then it's something you can take out to FSBOs and expired listings as a unique strategy stick out. And then the neighborhood, you haven't reduced the sales price. So now those comps are going to be at a higher rate. My client, even though the offer price was $595 and we offer $625, the appraisal actually came in at $635, and that's kind of like a collaboration that I would do with the seller, both agents, just saying, hey, what do you really think this thing could appraise for? So that's really the strategy, and then this is how you would write it into a sales contract. Again, on my YouTube channel, I show the other side, the listing side of these strategies, so you can check that out. And if you liked what you saw, what you heard, what I just talked about, follow me on social media, like, share, follow, subscribe. But let's keep on moving those houses. All the best.